Overwatch, the game that took the world by storm. Or should I say, Blizzard. A PvP shooter that somewhat resembles Team Fortress 2. Except for I'm not a huge fan of Team Fortress 2, but I love Overwatch, and so does everybody else that I know that doesn't like Team Fortress 2. But why exactly is that? Here's the thing about Overwatch. Number 1. Simplicity versus the complexity. Pop quiz! What's the difference between Overwatch and League of Legends? About 5 million characters. Now, League of Legends is a great game. May you love me or despise me for saying that, but a huge part of League is its learning curve. It's a 90-degree angle. There's a lot to learn to really even be decent. Not to mention the people you play with, be it friends or strangers, expect you to pick up the game and instantly know what you're doing. There's items, stat setups, and all this insane crap that you're just thrown into without much of a tutorial or a how-to. And you can't really blame your friends for not teaching you. You'd need like a textbook to learn it all at once. It's like if a math teacher taught you everything you need to know on your final exam within the first week of school. Sure, you'd love to get it all out of the way at once, but it's really hard to do. And there's a reason we go at a certain pace, which is a major turnoff for beginning League players. If the learning curve takes weeks of getting your ass beat, it's not really going to be for everybody. And that's the beauty of Overwatch. It has a lot of complexities, but at its core, the concept is pretty simple. It's a 6-on-6 match of people trying to take over a certain point or escorting a payload to the end. There are 22 characters, soon to add more, that only have 2 moves, an ultimate move, and occasionally a special ability using your right click or just by jumping. No items, no pregame setup with attack boosts, yada yada, you get the point. The characters are all easy to learn and understand, and on top of that, every game starts you off with about a 30-second wait time to test out your moves, which have very short cooldowns. So you're free to practice your abilities or get the feel of your character's movement before the match even starts, with no consequences. And if you still feel nervous to get right into the game with a new character, there is also a player versus AI mode. The AI is super simple and predictable, and the community of people playing there is surprisingly helpful and inviting. But if you're still feeling uncomfortable, well, there's also a training mode with no other players, so you can freely learn your character without anybody even being around you. Okay, so you get the picture. It's simple, but what makes it complex? I'll try to explain this as best I can. Let's take this Mario standoff for example. Mario versus a Boomerang Bro. All Mario has is a jump, right? And all the Boomerang Bro has is his boomerang. Very simple, but it takes a bit of focus and concentration to take one of these guys out, especially if you only have one hit left. It can be extremely stressful. Fast forward to Super Mario Galaxy 2's final level, you have one hit, you can't make any mistakes. The end of the level treats you with 3 Boomerang Bros. Again, all Mario has is his jump, and all the Boomerang Bros have are boomerangs. On paper, this is extremely simple, but when you play the game, when you realize that you have just as many limitations as your enemy does, you realize that it's a lot more complicated than you would think. Same with Overwatch. You have 3 moves. 2 normal ones, and your ultimate. Stringing these moves together is really easy to learn how to do. There's only 3 of them, and there's only so many combinations you can come up with, and that's where your teammates come in. Combining these moves with teammates makes team composition extremely important, but even just by themselves, these characters can create some very interesting 1 versus 1 scenarios. For example, Bastion. You don't even need to play Bastion to know that he will wreck you in like a second. Need I say more? So let's say you play Genji, and you use your E move to deflect all his ass tearing right back at him. Easy kill, right? But you can't do that too much, or it becomes predictable. Then Bastion can just sit there idly by and wait for you to use up your E ability so he can continue to destroy all of your hopes and dreams. At this point, you have a few options. Your options with Genji would be to escape, made easy both by his dash ability and his ability to climb walls for a certain amount of time, or attempt to dash behind him and finish him off, depending on the amount of health he has. And again, that's just one scenario laid out by 2 of 22 characters. Simple and complex. Number 2, class diversity. The game has 4 categories of heroes: attack, defense, tank, and support. It's really easy to say that the 4 categories have different types of characters, but that's obvious and I don't care. But the real cool thing is that the characters within those categories are different from each other. And you might be thinking, yeah, they're different characters, it should be that way. And damn right it should. But I don't see a lot of PvP games that are like that. I mean, the moves are slightly different, but the playstyle is generally the same. If you're not good with one support character, you'll probably be shit with just about every other support character. Overwatch is different. Thank God, I can play a support character now. This is literally the only game where I have been comfortable playing with at least one character from every single class. For this example, let's take a look at the support class. Not including Anna, she just came out and I don't have time to test her out. Let's start with Mercy. Mercy flies around to one person at a time, healing them or boosting their damage. If she's alone, she can't really do much with her pistol. Maybe she can take out a Tracer or D.Va if D.Va is out of her mech. But don't expect to take down too many tanks, like Roadhog for example. This makes her perfect to be paired up with a Pharah or a Reinhardt. Pharah flying around the sky will let Mercy use her shift ability to maneuver around the map really quickly and make it to the other heroes. And Reinhardt kind of needs a single healer. Not to mention he makes a great path back to the objective point, where Reinhardts usually are, or at least should be. Lucio just kind of runs around and his mere presence heals people or just makes them faster, making him perfect to be teamed up with mobile heroes who are still near the objective, like Genji or Tracer. Now, here's where things get a little bit more interesting. Both Mercy and Lucio are pretty balanced while using them on both offensive or defensive teams. But let's look at the other supports. Zenyatta can really hold his own, and his orbs make it easy to kill the opposing team, making him more of an offensive hero. But he's still a support. Whereas on the other hand, Symmetra places down turrets and gives out shields, generally a more mobile and supportive version of Torbjorn's moveset, a defensive support. But at the same time, these classes don't exactly limit these characters. Every tank and every support can be used for both offense and defense. But the cool thing is that offense heroes can be used on defense, and vice versa. This usually pisses a lot of people off, but if you're good with an offensive hero, it's not necessarily a bad thing to try them out on defense. Or be Bastion, a defensive hero, and just hop on the payload and tear ass every game. And to show just how balanced this game is, Bastion is claimed to be the most overpowered character in the game, but on most lists online, he's a bottom tier character. I personally main Bastion, and I'm pretty sure soon I will have earned the nickname of the Salt Shaker. Number 3. Team composition. This kind of plays into everything we've already talked about, but communication with your team in Overwatch is extremely important, especially when you have an objective to get to and some people decide to go rogue, which sometimes is fine, and other times, well, and like I said before, it's fine to play a defensive character on offense. But if your team is 6 Widowmakers, the Salt Shaker is not just going to hand you an objective. This is another thing the game, but not exactly every player, can do right, especially in competitive mode where there can only be one hero each per team. But even past that, it's easy to find good team combinations. And since the characters are balanced, it's really up to each person individually to do their part. And communication is made easy with the C key, where you have a ton of voice lines that you can use. If Lucio is about to use his ult to give a huge shield to everybody in his range, he can communicate that very quickly. And even if you're not looking down at the chat, you can still hear his character say it. You can also call it for healing if you need to. But if there's a Mercy on your team, please don't make it literally impossible to reach you when we're slow and we can't see you and we can't fly to you. Genji, I am looking at. The point is, get a team that works well together. There's a million combinations to find, but try chaining them together. Like for a defensive team, say somebody plays Bastion. Mercy is good to heal Bastion, and she can also boost his already insane attack power. Reinhardt is a great tank if there's a Mercy around. Torbjorn's turret and Reinhardt's shield go perfectly well together, so on and so forth until you have a good team. The map also matters. If you have the team I just mentioned and you're defending point B of Hanamura, Bastion, Reinhardt, and Torbjorn are almost impossible to kill in such a confined area, especially so close to their base. And even if you manage to take them out, that's probably enough time for Mercy to be able to use her ult and revive them. And at that point, you'll start questioning your sanity. Number 4. Teamwork versus competitive. Again, I like League, but let me explain why I don't play it. All the experience you gain is based off kills and assists. This makes kill stealing a major problem. It also makes it very difficult to end a particularly one-sided game if 1 or 2 people on the losing team refuse to surrender, because the winning team will just grind for XP. Why is that frustrating? Because I've already dedicated a fucking hour to one damn game of League. Why can't it just end already? Maybe people have things to do. If I even leave a normal match, I'm punished severely. We've talked enough about the teamwork in this game, but why are people so motivated to help? Because Overwatch isn't bullshit and gives you experience for helping. If you're Mercy and hardly even use your pistol, you still get experience for healing people, and you get assists for your damage boosts. And the league issue doesn't happen in Overwatch because every match has a time limit. This clock, this tiny little clock, has saved all of us from so much rage. Having a bad game with a bad team, the game will end shortly, and if your whole team is bad, the game rewards you with medals depending on how you did compared to the rest of your team. So you get bonus experience either way. And if you carried a team or did really well as a tank or a support, you can be voted player of the game and get even more experience. Plus, there's a play of the game in every single match. There's just a lot of reasons to play the game well. All of these things seem so simple, so small, so insignificant. But think about it. I don't know about you guys, but I hardly see any trolls in Overwatch. And if there are any, they take up one match out of the 10 I can play in the span of 1 or 2 hours. This game rewards you for the small things that games should have been rewarding us for the whole time. No wonder nobody cares about supports in other PvP games. You don't get any credit for them. Now all of a sudden, supports are getting the most credit, and as they should. Because not just in Overwatch, but every PvP, supports are generally the most useful character on the team, so have friendly competition with your friends while playing, but also work together to crush your opponents. And now that we're done with everything that I love about this game, that's a lot, let's mention all of the, bad things? Number one, the only one, things I want to see added. Okay, so the only bad thing I could really think of was the balancing, which is updated just about every week. And crap like that happens in games like this, so we'll just skip past that part. And believe me, mentioning this next part is just kind of me stretching to find anything that I dislike about this game, but this is truly something I would love to see added. A sandbox type game mode. Now hear me out on this. You know when you're playing Smash Brothers and you start doing custom matches with gravity, size, speed, etc. turned all the way up or all the way down, or when you're playing Halo and you make insane custom games. You know, that thing that made Halo fun for so long. I want to see that added to Overwatch. A sandbox mode. A creative mode. A game mode where after playing match after match and the sun starts to set, you can have a few laughs with your friends by cranking the gravity on a fair only match, or maximizing the speed on an all tracer map, or even something just as simple as making everybody's voice squeaky. Overwatch is fantastic on its own, but all I really want is one more game mode added to make all the good times last just a little bit longer. Thanks for watching. I went through a lot of changes, such as like my microphone and my office layout and everything while I was making this video, so it kind of delayed it a little bit, so sorry for like the delayed jokes that were in the video. But if you still enjoyed it, you know, give me a like, give me a comment telling me what I could do better, what was good, what was extra good, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!